Let's paint some poplar trees. I've created this super easy and fun watercolor lesson for you to paint along with. So here I'm just getting my paints ready. And if you can, get a Chinese calligraphy paintbrush. It is great for this painting. Just make sure you remove any loose hairs before you start painting. So here we go. We're just painting in each tree in one stroke. I'm getting the shape of the tree by altering how much pressure I'm putting on the brush. And for this painting, we're going to use the wet into wet technique. So it's important that your paint stays wet. So if this is your first watercolor painting, I recommend you just do one tree at a time because the last tree will probably be dry by the time you get to it. So here I'm just dropping in some darker blue to vary the tones. And I do this to each tree, but I want each one to look different. So I'm dropping the blue into different places on each one. And I've decided I'm going to make the middle tree lighter than the other ones. So I'm not adding as much of the dark blue to it. Now I'm going to drop in some yellow. So I'm just dabbing it in. I've started with the middle tree because I decided I want it to be the lightest and have the most yellow. And now I'm dabbing in a little bit of water just to see how it interacts with the paint. And just have fun with this, just explore. I recommend you do this painting several times. I did, and I just found it really fun. It turns out differently every time, and it's such a simple and fun activity. So my third tree is already dried quite a bit, so I've added in some water, and now the yellow paint will interact with the water that I've laid down, but it will have a different result since the blue paint is not very wet anymore. And now I'm just adding a stripe of yellow on the side of the tree to add some variation to the trunk. And I love how this is coming together. And the reason I chose to paint poplar trees is when I was a kid growing up, we had a row of poplar trees at the very back of our backyard. And I was so small, our backyard just seemed huge to me. It felt like it took forever to walk from the house to the end of the backyard. And I even remember when we bought these poplar trees and brought them home and how excited my parents were. It's such a fun memory. So this painting connects me to another time in my life, a time when I was young and the world was so huge and full of things to explore. And that's one thing I love about art. It can connect us to different memories and to different seasons of our life. Now for the fun part, I'm going to paint the foreground. I tried to make sure that my brush wasn't too wet so that I could get some of these light patches underneath. And then I let that blue layer dry and then laid in a layer of yellow to have some variety here in the foreground. So I hope you'll grab your watercolor supplies and give it a try. And if you do, please leave me a comment below and let me know how it went.